We're sitting just in that space, in between thoughts, in between thinking, in between feeling. The easier it is to outgrow your addiction. It becomes relatively easy to outgrow your addiction. Want to be able to cultivate that habit of resistance, that habit of intentionality, that habit of presence, to sit down in that suffering when you are triggered, to be intentional, to be mindful in that suffering when you are triggered. You want to cultivate the awareness of the agency within yourself. Instead of using the word discipline, overcoming, or resisting temptation, those are words that will just lead you into going back into something that is far worse than the thing that you are fighting against. When you plant a seed in the ground, as long as certain conditions are met, as long as the truth of growth is met, that seed will germinate to eventually become a plant, to eventually become a tree. And that is what you want for your addiction. You want to find out the truth for yourself. You want to be present. You want to be mindful. You want to be aware. You want to understand, why am I suffering? What do I really need? What do I really mean by this thing? Why is that my drug of choice? Why am I addicted to that thing? You want to be aware of your need. You want to be able to communicate your need, especially to yourself. Once the conditions are being met, once the truth has been met within yourself, it becomes easy to outgrow anything. It becomes easy to outgrow that addiction. The right perspective just has to be met within yourself. Now, talking about a perspective shift on addiction as a way of overcoming addiction is this. The opposite of addiction is connection, right? Good. If you want to overcome your addiction, what you need is a very good reason why and a very strong connection. And one way that you can gain that connection that you truly need is by, play a game with yourself. Every time you see a person, try to guess what their addiction is. Yeah, I said it. Every time you see somebody, anybody, really doesn't matter, try to guess what their choice of addiction is, what their choice of drug is. Just try to guess. This mindset shift, this perspective shift is going to change a lot of things. Once you are able to play this game and you are able to play it intentionally, it's going to change a lot of things. Try to guess what people's addictions are. We said that the opposite of addiction is connection. We said that what an addict is truly looking for, what people who abuse substance, who get addicted to things, are truly looking for, is connection. To be part of a whole, to want to be present, want to be mindful, to want to have a very good reason to suffer, to stay in that suffering that largely is life, that chaos that is life. For that, you need a connection, you need a system. When you look at people in your daily life, try to guess what their addiction is, and it's going to change your perspective. The reason why this works is this. Addiction, the opposite of addiction is connection. The moment you understand and you hit the truth of that realization within yourself that everybody is addicted to something, you are not different, you are not special, you are not strange, you are not weird, you are like everybody else, you are human. Everybody is addicted to something. The moment you stop coming from a place of loss and isolation, the moment you stop feeling different, the moment you start to relate with that thing that is very human and in all of us, the moment you are able to approach yourself with compassion and love and understanding, it changes everything. Everybody is addicted to something. You need to stop seeing yourself like you are a problem. You need to stop thinking you are a problem. You need to stop thinking that whatever you are doing is a problem. Everybody is addicted to something, especially in this generation. They might not be addicted to drugs, but they might be addicted to their phones. They might not be addicted to their phones. They might be addicted with how other people see them. They might not be addicted to how other people see them. They might be addicted to an opinion of themselves. They might not be addicted to that. Everybody is addicted to something. The more you are able to figure out what they are addicted to, the closer you feel to them, the more connected you feel to them, the more compassion you start to extend to yourself, the more you start to forgive yourself for making that mistake, for the things that you go through for maybe overreacting a little bit. Everybody is addicted to something. Do you know what the people around you are addicted to? What you need is a connection. You need to feel amongst the crowd. You need to feel part of the crowd. You need to feel part of your family. You need to feel as a part of the society. One way to do that is to come down to that level of that struggle and identify other people's struggle. You need to send that message to your subconscious mind that whatever you are feeling right now, other people are feeling it too. You are not alone. You are not exactly wrong. You are not alone in this. And trust me, this works 100% of the time. I know from experience that this works because when I was a teenager, I had some personal struggles, very private struggles, and largely it was a problem for me because I felt like I was alone. I was the only one struggling. I felt largely that something was wrong with me. Everybody just seemed like they were fine. Everybody just looked like it was easy living life. Everybody just seemed like they had it all figured out. But I was going through some sort of struggle, some sort of challenge, some sort of conflict within myself, and I did not understand why. I could not act the way that they acted. I could not smile the way that they smiled. I could not do the things that they did. And I felt like something was wrong with me. And the more that I thought that something was wrong with me, the more it just became a thing. And it was not supposed to be a thing. But when I figured out that basically life, everybody is a hypocrite. Once I figured out that, the more I was able to point out their imperfection, the more I was able to understand that nobody is perfect. But it really doesn't stop anybody from showing up in their own life. It really doesn't stop anybody from waking up in the morning and picking up the script that is their life and reading it and start to perform and start to act. The more I figured out that the requirement for life is to be a hypocrite. You can't be perfect all the time. You can't be 100% all the time. But you deciding to show up in your own life, you deciding to go and figure things out as you are going. It's part of being human. You don't have to have all the answers all the time. You don't have to be perfect all the time. The moment I saw that hypocrisy is very much part of life, I started to feel this sort of connection with them. I stopped feeling different. I stopped battling myself. I stopped fighting myself. I stopped all these things, and I started to get this. I started to understand them on a level that was beyond words. I do not need to talk to you to understand you, whatever you are going through. By simply looking at you, I understand you. That way, I stop judging other persons as a way of indirectly judging myself. Because when I judge myself, I am judging other people too. And when I judge other people, I am judging myself. And that is just basically how it works. The more you get into the habit of identifying other people's addiction, the more you try to normalize that addiction, it kind of loses its power over you. You have to understand that everything in life, it's about the looking glass, it's about the perspectives, it's about how you see it. If you think that thing is a problem, it is clearly a problem. But if you are able to identify from a place of intentionality, not abuse, from a place of presence, from a place of awareness, information that this thing is not a problem. I am capable of doing this thing. I have done it before. I reached for that thing. I am very human. I am going to have bad days. I'm going to have good days. The more you are able to identify these things, the more you are able to feel part of the whole. Yeah, to feel connected to people, to feel connected to things. You don't exactly need to have a direct experience, a direct relationship with them. When you can understand them, when you can understand what their choice of addiction is, compassion is automatic. That compassion that automatically extends to yourself as a person. Another strategy for overcoming addiction is intentionality, and a lot of things that we've talked about boils down to intentionality, boils down to being present, boils down to recognizing that you are suffering, but being able to sit down in that suffering and figure out the answer instead of escaping the suffering every time. Being able to put into words that you are feeling overwhelmed, being able to communicate that you are frustrated, you are feeling overwhelmed, you are all over the place, you can't focus, you are agitated, and being able to frame these things into words, being able to identify these emotions, these things. Intentionality, awareness will do a lot. One way to cultivate awareness, one way to cultivate intentionality with regards to your addiction is this. What have you learned? You need to sit back and ask yourself, in your years of abusing this, in your years of reacting to this, in your years of having the same experience over and over again, in your years of struggling with your addiction, what have you learned? What have you learned? There's this idea that I very much do not like. It's the idea that learning has to be intentional. Learning does not have to be intentional. In fact, there's no one individual on the surface of this earth that is 100% in charge of their learning. Learning, understand what I'm saying? Learning can be intentional, but 80 to 90% of the time, learning is not intentional. Learning is pattern recognition. Learning is something that the brain does. Learning is a function of the brain. It's not a function of the individual or the personality of an individual. No. Learning, the ability to learn in us all, is a function of your brain. It's a function of your mind. It's something your mind does on its own. In as much as you can be intentional about learning and you can choose the thing to learn, you can choose the things to learn, you have to understand that on a certain level, learning happens automatically. You are learning whether you like it or not. You are taking in information, stimuli, whether you like it or not. A pattern is being formed in your brain whether you recognize it or not. What this means is that in as much as you are not present in your addiction, you are not intentional in the past when dealing with your addiction, there are things that you've recognized. There are patterns that has been established that you can pick out. Learning took place even when you are not aware, when you are not present, when you are not mindful. Do you know what those lessons are in your struggles with addiction? What did you learn? Do you know what those struggles are? What are the patterns? What have you learned with regards to your addiction? What did you learn? Very important, very important stuff, and you're encouraged to take some time to really consider it. What did you learn? I hope you know that addiction is one thing, choosing to suffer is another thing. You do not have to suffer because you're an addict. Yeah, I hope you do know that addiction is one thing, suffering is another thing. You do not have to suffer because you're an addict. A lot of people are addicts. It does not interfere with their life. They do not suffer. They still are able to show up, meet up, be happy, have fuller life. Like I said, everybody is addicted to something. The suffering part of addiction is a choice. The misbehaving is a choice. The loss of control is kind of like a choice. Not that people sit down and intentionally decide to misbehave. No. But is there a way to go about these things without all that negativity, without all that loss of control, without all that suffering? What have you learned? What have you learned in your struggle with addiction? What are the patterns? What are the repetition? What is the lesson? What is it trying to teach you? What is it trying to tell you? What have you learned? Intentionality will change a lot of things. Learning is how we grow largely as a species, as human beings. Learning plays a very important role in our life. Once we are able to recognize certain patterns, we are able to automate certain things, we are able to exceed certain things, we are able to grow, we are able to expand, we are able to become more of what we truly are. What have you learned in your struggle with addiction? One thing about us as addicts is that our awareness of self is very small, it's very, very small. But then our awareness of suffering is greatly expanded on. An addict is a person that is aware of suffering on a level that they should not be aware of. Nobody should be aware of suffering on that level enough to want to escape. It's one thing to physically exhaust yourself. It's another thing to be exhausted mentally from chasing, from running away, from fighting, from the internal conflict. It's just really a lot to deal with. But at the root of addiction is a loss, is a sense of loss, is an emotion, is a feeling, is a need that is not met.